Hey John, how you doing?
Greg, good morning. Good day.
Welcome everyone. Welcome again to Ozbeach Drone. I'm Greg and he's John.
Yeah,
And we're just a couple of mates that like playing with drones and technology and obviously video, a little bit of music thrown in, all sorts of interests that we have. And welcome to our show today. If you are watching today, please feel free to join us in the online chat. We'll share some of your comments on the screen as we go throughout the day.
all right, it's going to be a fun show today, folks. We're going to talk about the word five, what's real and what might not be real. We're going to talk about some maintenance, also some safety things, different checklists. And we're also going to talk about some mods that you can get for your aircraft, so if you're already flying. But lots for everyone here today. And of course, we love to see your chats and you direct us to the things that you want to know. Just put in the chat column and we can talk about. So welcome to the show. News time.
News time. So let's get started with a little bit of news about what we've been doing this week. For me, my week, I've spent a lot of time playing with some of this video technology, literally going and doing test stream after test stream after test stream, and I'm learning more about it as we go. But I tell you what, I just wanted to share the interesting parallel between video broadcasting and flying an aircraft, and checklist after checklist.
That's the way it seems done. You'll forget something. And one of the things I think, Greg, even though we've done, this is our third show, is that, and I can hear you running down the checks and say, okay, I forgot this. Once you've sort of formalised it, you think that by not having a checklist up, I can remember this and I can remember that. Well, not every day is the same. And, as most pilots learn, a checklist is really a comfort thing. It's great to be able to do what you do well and refer to the checklist. And, of course, inevitably, it saves you more than it will hinder you.
Yeah, look, it's even today there was a couple of things that we had forgotten, and despite trying to build the checklists, we still nearly forgot a few things close to showtime today, but we got there in the end. But let's move on to something else. There's been a lot of speculation this week about the Phantom 5, and I was originally planning to get these leaked photos. I was going to share those leaked photos on the screen, but I decided not to because there's just too many versions of them out there. I'd rather have something that was credible.
We can talk about the speculation, but when you're talking about tech, what's coming up, what are we going to have next? It's interesting looking at the forums. I remember going right back to when the Phantom 3 was established, and everyone said, when I don't know if I'll buy it yet because there'll be a Phantom 4, and some people are saying, well, you couldn't have a Phantom 4. That line is finished. We saw the Mavic come on, and everyone believed that DJI was finished with the Phantom line. You can second guess a lot of things. There are some leaks that come out. I think they're more or less to do with marketing, the way companies market these days. You watch the way Apple does their leaks and gets people buzzing about it, because you lead up to a product coming out is as important about establishing it in the market. So quickly to go through those ones we're talking about, Greg, we saw a RTK version of the Phantom 4. For my way of thinking, I don't think we're going to have RTK on a Phantom 5. I don't think there's any real need for it. I think we might have a version called the RTK Pro version of the Phantom 5, which it might be an option like it is on the Matrice. We do think that the camera won't be changed in resolution, but it will have changeable lenses. Now, a lot of photographers really think that that's a move forward. You'll be able to, like when you put on a filter, you'll be able to actually change the lens from 50, 35 mil, 20 mil. And I think that'll be a nice win. As far as retractable landing gear goes and 360-degree cameras and so forth, now we've been talking about those for ages. I can't see them building that on this airframe. I think that's sort of a little bit out of the Phantom realm. But I certainly think obstacle avoidance has always been something they've added, and so we'll see obstacle avoidance entered on the Phantom 5, which looks up as well. So we're having 6 directions effectively of obstacle avoidance with maybe a faster processor. But at this stage, that's the buzz that's out there. We can't find any more than that. But maybe if you have chat, put it in the chat line there. If you think there's something else on the wing, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. Look, the features we do anticipate, certainly at a high level, people have been talking about, number one, retractable landing gear, right? So that one is hopefully going to be in there. The interchangeable camera. Someone had rumoured that there's going to be some water resistance as well. I don't know. I don't know about that one. It's just seems too good to be true.
You're flying in rain anyway. When you talk about water resistance, there's 2 types of thinking there. Do you want to be able to dunk the aeroplane, so lose it in the water and have it again and have it go again? This has always been the wish with the phone. We've splashed our water for years. Once they've reached a level where we could dunk them in water for a minute or 2 minutes, that was considered a big plus. And I don't think we're going to move that direction right away. Dunking it in the water and having it fly again is pretty risky anyway. Just reeling back to the retractable landing gear, the only reason to have retractable landing gear on a Phantom is to have a 360-degree camera. So if you move the undercarriage out of the way, then you'll be able to rotate the camera. Now, if you've flown an Inspire, you'll know why that's difficult. Because once you're looking at your FPV screen and the camera's pointing backwards, you might be flying sideways and looking this way or whatever. You're not actually getting the orientation. The reason for keeping the camera facing basically forward in a Phantom is that really that's the best way to manage it. You're looking either at a second operator, like you'd often have on Inspire, to work the camera. And now we see on Inspire 2 that we have a second camera for the pilot, an FPV pilot, so that the pilot flying can always look ahead of the aircraft and monitor that, and the camera operator can rotate the camera where it likes. So when we talk about 360-degree cameras and retractable landing gear, this is a prosumer product, a very good prosumer product. And that just jumps the line a little bit for me in terms of the 360 camera. And those that might have flown them before might agree with me.
Okay. So, sorry, I heard something there that you were talking about a camera for navigation versus photography. Are you saying there's 2 cameras in some existing products, or is that what you're hoping for?
Every professional camera platform has 2 cameras. And the reason is, in terms of the Inspire 2 has it, we modded our Inspire 1 to have one. We put a second camera on it. Now, okay. And the reason, of course, the pilot needs to look forward. That when we first got the Inspire 1, we had a quick switch, so you could, if you were filming something and you got lost, and well, not so much lost, but needed the extra orientation, you could just push one of the C buttons, and the camera would lock straight forward and give the pilot orientation again. Trust me, it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. So we hope that all of these things and more are going to come, but only time will tell. And DJI, of course, they're keeping their cards pretty close, but they're also having fun, I think, leaking a few bits of information. So we've talked about checklist, the Phantom 5. Just a couple of other things in terms of what's coming up this week for us. There's the Australian Association for Unmanned Air Systems. You and I and a bunch of other people are going to Canberra and going to be going to a conference there. We're going to be talking and meeting with people, including people from DJI, from CASA, from Air Services, from Boeing, and lots more. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that, John?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is going to be the most exciting conference to date for the technology. There's a couple of reasons for that, but yes, the 5 of us, and you included from Morrison Aerobotics going down, we see a real change. 2 reasons that are happening. First of all, the FAA in America is just rolling out what they call LANC, which is a low altitude, a self-assessing, where you can fly next to an airport. If you're reasonably safe, you can use an app to state where you're going to fly and get an approval to do that. The other one is BVLOS, and we're moving towards BVLOS, so our regulators have realised most people are flying beyond visual line of sight and have been doing it for years. And so, anyone doing that is doing it illegally. So we're also looking at the technologies that are going to enable that. So this conference specifically is called RPAS in Australian Skies. And it's going to be fabulous because the regulator will be there. We'll have our aircraft manufacturers. We've got people from Boeing that are talking about sense and avoid technology for aircraft. And even if you are a hobbyist, I think this is a conference you would want to come to. If you're a hobbyist that's interested in the technology and want to know what's going to happen in that next jump, this is going to be what I call the time of revolution. We've seen some changes to regulation. We've seen sub-2 kilo things coming in. It's always moving at a very rapid pace. We all acknowledge that in this technology. What we're going to see now, if we go to BVLOS and self-assessing for airport use of airport, low space airport, we're going to actually call that revolution, and it will be.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it, and I think the BVLOS, or BVLOS as you call it, it is something where so many people we see doing this. Some of them admit to it publicly, others don't. But let's face it, there has been, as you said, so many people doing it for many years. And
have a look at YouTube, and you know, there's literally thousands and thousands of people that are posting up their flights where they can't see the aircraft.
Yeah.
You know, there for all to see.
Yeah. Look, so I'll just put that URL back on again one more time. So this is the Australian Association of Unmanned Aerial Systems. If you are available for this week, and I don't know if there's any additional seats available, certainly it'd be interesting to come and meet you. If not, we are planning on taking some cameras and shooting some footage while we're there. So looking forward to that event.
All of that online, you know, if you can't go, it's on Tuesday and Wednesday in Canberra at the National Conference Centre in Canberra. And so there'll be lots of stuff that comes out of that, and you'll hear it first here on Ozbeach Drone.
Okay. And one other thing, just on the topic of websites, so I just wanted to share the website below. So this is a website for people that want to hack or modify or tweak their drones. So this is dji.retroroms.info. It's a wiki that gives you how-to guides to do lots of interesting stuff on your aircraft. Hopefully, at some point in the near future, I'm trying to get someone who's one of the key, I'm trying to think of the right word, key people in the scene. Certainly, he was one of the people that I think kick-started the scene.
I think you're talking there, aren't you, Greg?
Yeah, that'd be the one. Yeah.
Good work.
So we're looking forward to hopefully getting him to join, and if not, certainly we'll continue to look around, see what might be available. So last little bit, again, just on the screen, we've got the chat window. Let me just see if anyone's been adding some things in. Hi, Rick. Let me just go and bring in some of those comments. So if I press too many buttons.
And while you're doing that, Greg, it's, those of the listeners who have been in before might notice that I'm in Morrison Aerobotics Skunk Works today, whereas on the boat before, and last week I was out in the bush. But here we are this time in our hangar, and if I just spin you around a little bit there, you can see, although that's the shelf side, here I am, you can see a few things in the background we've got. And maybe it's too bright that way, there's aeroplanes all over the place. So just in case you're wondering where we are, no one's ever been into our Skunk Works before, but you're welcome today. It's top secret here. We don't let anyone in.
Yeah, look, John certainly does a lot of custom modding and playing with his aircraft, and that's his base of operations. But let's just we've also got Paul Pardagupa.
Oh yeah, Paul. He's one of our guys. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul. And we've got Ozbeach Andy. So Ozbeach, we're going to play your video in just a couple of moments. And Big Drone Flyer, hello. And Rick Hullabur, thanks for joining today. In a minute, we're going to have a look at some maintenance a little bit later. And there's a competition with no prize yet because we've got to get some more viewers. But at some stage in the near future, we're going to have a prize. And I'm going to give a HDML cloner kit. So this is a device that we're going to give away. And it's something that takes in HDMI one side and puts it out onto a memory card. So useful if you want to go and get some live footage from a device. For example, Android can have a HDMI output on some devices and you can record directly to there. without worrying about the screen encoders. Certainly, there's a guy who has a channel called Never Mind Your Own. I know he uses one of these quite regularly. It's a nice little device, so we'll be giving that away when we get a few more subscribers. Don't know what the competition will be yet.
Good.
But for today, a competition with no prize. When we get to the maintenance section, I want you to be looking. There's a photograph that's going to come on the screen. And when that comes up, the first person to tell me what is it that's wrong with this photo. So
I play?
Can you play? Maybe not. Maybe not. You already know. Anyway, Big Drone Flyer, hello to you again. So let's move on. So let me just have a look at my run sheet. We have wrong window, too many windows. Okay, before we do move on, so like, subscribe, share, and all of those kind of good words, right? So if I play that one, if you could subscribe to us on YouTube. Oops, it went away too quickly. Let me do it one more time. So please do like and subscribe and comment to this video. It's going to help us to get some more visibility. We're a new channel. We're not big. We've only got a few people here at the moment. Twitter, we've set up a Twitter account as well. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, that'd be helpful as well. And last one, Facebook. We're also on Facebook. Not much there yet, but in time, all of these things will be added. Quick thing, sorry, John?
We're up to show number 3, so, you know, it's early days, and we're glad that you want to join us, and as a feedback, as you go to those social media network sites, tell us what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, so let's move into the next one. This is, again, just a quick little topic here. So viewer video. If you want to submit some video to us, we'd love to have your contribution, and that's where you should send it to us. Each week we're going to play one or even more. In particular, if you're an Australian, we very, very much encourage you. The show is called Oz by Drone, and for that reason, if you're an Australian, that would be a good thing. Now, I'm kind of a little bit behind on my titling over here because I forgot to press a button before. Checklist.
Here we go.
So I've just gone and pressed that now, and I'm going to go and... No, that wasn't the one. I did it wrong again. I'm going to get better at this, I promise. Topics, there we go. No, it didn't happen. It was meant to say video. So we're going to go on with the viewer video of the week. So without further ado, so this is submitted by one of the people. So I'm just turning that down a little bit. So this is submitted by one of our viewers who joined us today in the chat room. Andy, thank you for that. So this is a local beach to him from Adelaide, South Australia, and certainly some beautiful footage. The only interesting thing I noticed on the sign at the very beginning, and Andy, you're in the chat, do you want to tell us a little bit about the area?
Nice. Good horizon. Very nice. Big drone flyer from California. Cool.
So definitely some beautiful coastline there. Ozbeach, Andy, again, if you're still in the chat, that sign, if I remember correctly, it was a nude bathing beach. But that's all good.
I just put in my glass. Is that a nude beach?
I thought I saw that on the sign at the beginning.
Ah, did you? I did call for that. Hang on. Yeah. G'day, Angus. Hey, mate. Good to see you again. Angus is on it. We came by our first show. So you can be called the regular listener, mate. Look at that. That's nice. So, if my audio is going through this, folks, one of the things that cuts a nice ocean video is to make sure your horizon's level. Use the grid line setting on the aircraft. So your grid line's there, and before you start, get the aircraft up into a hover, look at the wind, and on a windy day, you might need to do some gimbal adjustment to get that horizon flat, particularly if you're heading facing towards the sea, and make all the difference in the world. And also, of course, getting your exposure right. Roll up, take a big bite of sky, have a look what that's going to turn out like, and then take a big bite of ground. So, Andy, this is a local beach about 35 kilometres south of Adelaide. I was going to guess beautiful area, and of course for our international guests, when you go right further from Adelaide, there, right down towards the southeast of the state, we call that the Limestone Coast. For obvious reasons, lots of beautiful caves in those hills, and but this is actually in the Gulf at Adelaide, and it's an absolutely beautiful area. Great fishing, amazing fishing. Nice back up there. That's good. Yes, it is a nudist beach. There you go. Paul's got good eyesight. Yeah, so that's good. We might have to go and have another look at this again. So, west side of the Gulf. It is east side, if you're south of Adelaide. Angus, what do you think? I would suggest the east side, looking west, unless from Adelaide anyway. So beautiful, nice reveal there. As you said, thanks for watching. Please share, leave a comment. Beautiful. Celtic Dream with some music if that was in there as well. So
Yeah.
we love to.
Speaking of which, there was an interesting discussion about music on the Ken show the other day, and he made an executive decision on his show, and I think it's a smart one. On the live stream kind of shows, even if you share some music that's not royalty free, and that means you can't monetize potentially your show, that's okay, because that one's not going to be the one that goes viral anyway. It's going to have your regular viewers. So we're not even able to monetize this. Not that that's a primary reason, but just thought I'd share that we're going to, follow that example that Ken said, I think, and include some music as we go.
That's right.
So next on our list, if I look at my run sheet, we're going to go into, and I had some problems with my titles. The information that was meant to come up hasn't been playing ball. So let me try it anyway.
I'm going to do a bit of a Kaz title, like a title.
Here we go. I've got it. I found out what was wrong.
Maintenance.
Yeah. So maintaining your drone is something we've all got to do. And this is definitely something that I want to be an interactive chat, an interactive discussion, because there's no one person who knows everything about everything. And we're not saying that we do, but we have done this crazy thing of paying a sum of money to get trained officially. And John certainly is a regular aviation pilot as well. So all of that experience together, we've got a few ideas that we want to share with you, but please do share some information in the chat if you've got some comments on maintenance as well. So just starting at the beginning, pre-flight and post-flight checks. Before you maintain, you've got to know that something is broken. So tell me about some of your pre-flight checks, John.
Well, the pre-flight and post-flight checks form the basis of our ongoing maintenance. And that's why they're mandatory, they're important. And what you do is you break it down into two parts. And this is basically borrowed from manned aircraft, because you have physical hardware to check in terms of the aircraft, propellers, motors and so forth. And you also have software to deal with. And in an aeroplane, manned aircraft, we have avionics in the same way. And so the very first thing you do in a manned aircraft these days, when you've got a navigation system, is you hop into the airplane, turn the master switch on, fire up the navigation unit and see if it's updated and it has the latest update. Because if it doesn't have the latest maps and charts in there and approach plates, then it needs to be updated. So aviation companies run a log of firmware updates and software updates for their navigation equipment. So we copy that, we do that, we have a log, and you'll know from Morrison Robotics that we have an alerting procedure because the manufacturer seems to do it randomly. A sensible thing would be if you're going to do firmware to have a scheduled time to do it, but they don't do that. So we need to alert the pilots when there's an update and report on if it's stable or not. So putting that aside, keep a log. The first thing about keeping a check and a log of your firmware, your software updates, know exactly what version you're using and if it's stable or not. And don't go and fly it over at Auntie Betty's and film a birthday party after just upgrading. Go somewhere where you can safely check the firmware, hover the aircraft, do a control check, do an RTL in it, make sure it's good, and sign that off. Actually acknowledge that on this day I've upgraded and this worked and everything worked. So that's the software side. The hardware
Let's just
side,
pause there. So talking about hardware before we get into that. So I said before, competition. Who's the first person who's going to tell us what's wrong with the image on the screen at the moment?
there's an easy one.
There's an easy
Yeah.
one. Let's. I'll let you keep talking about what you were saying, John.
Just have a look at that. So another thing that, of course, that even relates to that photograph there, when you take the airplane out to fly it and you begin, we have a pretty standard way of pre-flighting aircraft. First thing we do is invert them. One of the important things is to guard the gimbal, take the gimbal guards off and inspect the camera. So with the aircraft inverted, you do a complete underbody inspection, undercarriage, LED lights and so forth. Just have a quick look over the airplane and make sure there's no stress cracks in the underbody. And then once you're happy that the gimbal is free and that everything's ready underbody, flip the airplane the right side up. Then check the engines for rotation, and also the prop hubs. Always check the hub. And the reason you do that, is because before you put the propellers on, you need to have the aircraft inspected. Even if you've got a battery sitting in there. And so we would always take the battery out and slip it in. And a quick tip there, if your battery is going to fail in an aircraft and it's like a DJI aircraft where the battery slides in, often they'll swell. So you may take the aircraft out and you push it once, you see, I've got a full battery here, I can just go flying. Now if you actually click the battery release, pull it out, and when you can't pull it out, you notice it's stuck. And then it's very, very tight. You would have a very close look at the battery and make sure that the swelling, the physical swelling, hasn't meant that the battery is not usable and should be discarded properly. So and you do that every time. I mean, even if we're in a survey job where we're packing up, perhaps going to another location, we'll repeat that task. And all I have to do with the firmware is check the log. The firmware is signed off. When I boot the airplane up, that's the firmware on the airplane. So tick, do the underbody inspection, top inspection. The last thing that goes on, everybody, is the propellers. And you need to have them off the airplane to look at them properly. You can't look underneath where the propeller hubs fit to make sure there are no cracks or problems with the propeller, not just the blades. Don't just look at the blades and their condition. Look at the hub. The hub is such an important part of the prop and the power mechanism. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. If you sign that airplane off and daily maintenance that way, that is a control measure that means you're going to have a lot less problem and you're going to be able to prevent. That's a preventative form of maintenance. If you see a problem, of course, you can attend to it. You're not waiting for something to break until you have a look at it. And that's basically how aviation works generally. We log everything, we check everything, and then I can go on and once you've got that right, we can talk about periodic maintenance, which is another subject.
Okay, interesting. So no one's got the answer to the competition yet, even though there was a slight hint of it in what you were saying. And by the way, Ken, I don't know why your name is coming up as Dave Olivier every time you talk, but for those people who are wondering, the man with the fabulous hair, he's the one who is actually Ken Heron and not Dave Olivier. I have no idea what's happening there. But guys, come on. Let's put the photo up one more time.
It's blazingly, and
Let's go full screen.
Only make this mistake once and get caught. but you never ever, you know, as I say, I'm giving it away there, you know, but you can just see them sitting there, waiting to do damage. You know, it's pretty easy. Um, and you
Angus,
don't.
Angus, congratulations, you've got it. Props were still on the machine while servicing. Yeah, if you feel like cutting off some appendages, then feel free to do that.
I can, without putting it, you know, Angus is in the emergency services sector, and quite experienced in that role. So he's got his eye on safety all the time. But, you know, don't do any kind of maintenance, folks, with your props on. And in fact, don't aeroplane with the props on. You know, put the propellers on last, when you're about to fly, and remember that in terms of mounting the propellers, and then powering the aircraft, whether it's armed or not, is the time that you need to have some sterility around the airplane. You need to have a sterile environment there if you've got people with you or working. And the easiest thing, if you see an airplane sitting there with props off it, you know it really is harmless. And there's nothing it can really do. Trust me. You know, you might kick it over, but it's not gonna bite you. And that's an important thing to acknowledge. And, you know, even we look, our manufacturers remind us, you're going to upgrade firmware, you're going to do anything to the airplane, take the props off. It's always been in Mission Planner. It's always been in DJ stuff. Just don't be tempted to do it, and you'll do less damage if you have a problem. Not to just yourself, but it doesn't do the aeroplane any favours either to
Yeah.
have the props and get tangled up.
So just a quick comment, right? We've got Ken on the screen again. Ken is not Dave Oliver. I don't know how that is happening. Every single time I put your face up, Ken, you've transformed into someone else. I don't know if you've been adopted, but anyway. Just before we go off the topic of maintenance, what do you do once you're finished?
Once you've finished your maintenance or you're talking post-flight?
Yeah, so after you've done your maintenance and your first flight. So this is an interesting one, and I'll just quickly tell the story of a couple of maintenance events. For me, I was going and getting my license, my certificate, my RPAS certificate, and during the actual flight test, my aircraft, I did a pre-flight inspection, as you always do, and the aircraft was all good. And post-flight inspection, I had a stress crack, and that was certainly an interesting thing. So just first of all, shows you the importance of maintenance. But then after that, so I sent it off to DJI, they repaired it, it was all good. And, you know, hats off to DJI in terms of their physical hardware service. But there was another problem when the aircraft came back. And that happened to be the gimbal. So again, I was doing a test flight. So it's just really important after, even if it comes back from the manufacturer, do a test flight. Make sure you understand the way your aircraft is going to perform after any maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. About post-flight checks, which is interesting because I see people, once they've done flying, just throw the airplane in the box. So what we do is the reverse. It's very easy to work from the checklist, but of course, as soon as you've landed and you finish your flying, take the props off, the last thing you put on. You shut the airplane down, do the top prop hubs, engines, rotation, reverse the airplane, do the underbody inspection for stress cracks, LED lights, and gimbal and undercarriage, and then put the gimbal guard on. You've got the airplane inverted, you're going to put the gimbal guard on. Now, here's the thing. If you just throw it back in the box, and you might say, well, I always do my pre-flight, so if there's a problem, I'll know. Well, one of the things that we find is that the airplane may have not have been damaged in flight. It may actually get damaged in transit, and you'll never know. So if you've flown the aircraft, you've got a stress crack like you had, Greg, and you find it on the post-flight inspection, you can immediately placard the airplane, which means it doesn't fly. And once it's got an unserviceable placard on it, and you sign the maintenance log saying it's not usable, that it's good. People are going to take it out of the box and say, I can't fly that one. And this probably relates to commercial ops. So, but I'm just telling you the way we do it, because if you're even a recreational user, these things are there for a very sound purpose. And post-flight check means that if you catch the injury or the defect to the airplane, means that you don't know whether in transit you were lugging it around in the Jeep or in the truck and going out to the next job, whether you've damaged it on the way there as well. Plus, you haven't got a serviceable aeroplane or not.
But here's a really super important thing. Doing a post-flight check is important because if you've got a post-flight check and you've got damage and your aircraft is still under warranty and you didn't hit something, that's 100% covered by warranty. A stress crack in this case, and the good thing was that I had the examiner for my license there as a witness if required, and he said he would be happy to go and tell DJI, hi, the guy did a pre-flight, the guy flew, he didn't hit anything, there was a crack when he landed. So, it's important to do that for your own benefit, so if something happens, you can certainly claim on that warranty. But let's move on. So now we're going to... So we're just going to have a little bit of chat time in between. So we've been talking about the maintenance, but this is just an interesting time where we can have a few questions from people. And hello, Dave Oliver again. I don't know why that's happening. YouTube is doing some weird things.
Thanks, Ken. You're a good guy too. I just noticed that the other day. I watched Greg on your show the other day, and I just noticed, and this is why you have such a good audience. You and Dana. I mean, wow. I mean, as hosts, you just want to watch. You want to watch. It's great. So I'm trying to live up to that here. I'm trying to keep a standard.
Yeah. And certainly apologies that, we don't have the Dana quality studio mic for John at the moment. He's in his hangar and, in a minute while we're chatting, if you want to go and pick up your device there, John, and wander around and, yeah.
Hey, look, here we go. I mean, I can show you this right away. This will be
your audio when you're not facing us is a bit low, just so you know, John. But
right, here we go. This is one of our research quads. It's basically just a flame wheel, but we test all sorts of things with this box on the top here. And what we do is it's basically located on the aircraft, and you might be able to see some of this. And I can take that off. I can actually separate the autopilot section with the quad, and I can put another autopilot on, or I can get that. And it's got a great big set of gear on it, because this thing goes all over the place real fast and lands in some crazy places. And then inside here, when I can take the autopilot pod, the moment it's got a Pixel 2.1 in it, and a few other little goodies. And we'll do all sorts of testing with that, because the 3D R, not so much anymore 3DR, but the Pixel platform and mission plan, it gives you lots and lots of flexibility to do bits and pieces. But when you start operating an aircraft like this, believe me, checklists and post checklists and so forth become super important. And remember, when you're modifying anything as well, you need to keep extra special records of that. But let me tell, for those of you that are operating commercial DJI aircraft and have thought about DJI Care, and okay, so that's a bit of insurance for me. And whereas I think that might, if you make a choice to do that, that's very good. That's your choice to do it. I can tell you that the time that I wanted to get a repair done to one of my Phantoms, I sent DJI my logs. I sent them not just the electronic logs. I sent them my firmware logs, the actual sign-offs for all of the pre-flight and post-flight things that I'd noticed on the way. 3 pages of stuff that we just collected over the life of the airplane, and bang, they had the lot. They could see, and you know what, they sense that you operate the airplane correctly. If a prop is nicked, you change a prop, and you write that in the log. You put it in the log, and we had either a rollover and log it, and then, because the telemetry logs will show that as well. But again, that's a maintenance thing, and one of these toys here, as you're building, requires, not so much maintenance, but careful attention to detail, one might say.
Yeah. Okay, so just before we finish chat, if there's any other quick questions or something before we move on to our next segment, speak now or forever hold your peace.
We've got to do fixed wing one day, Greg. The Parrot Disco's been flooded onto the market. We've just bought 3. We're going to buy another 3. We'll have 6 of them here soon. They are absolutely rock bottom prices. I just wanted to throw that in the chat now. and easy to fly. Anybody can be able to fly the Parrot Disco, and I've taught the Labrador next door. Absolutely easy. And so just throw that up there. If anybody's getting into fixed wing, you want to hear more about that. The Disco came out at $2,200. It jumped to $1,200. It's now $499 here in Australia, cheaper overseas. Go get yourself one. Trust me. They'll go soon. They're dumping them. Parrot finished with them because they want to release $25,000 versions of them with spectral cameras. So
of course, of course they do. Of course they do. So just before we move on to the next topic, so we're going to have a look at a couple more videos in a minute, and just a reminder, so if you want to send us a video, there's a link there, upload at gregkuhnert.com. Now, certainly the show is not yet at a point where it is appropriate to be sending anything via snail mail, but there's our details as well in case you would like to do that. So there's my address for anyone who wants to send anything physically.
You just wanted to show that so you can show people you live in a really, really nice place.
No, look, I wanted to show that because, you know, I learned from the master when I see he puts his address up, people start sending in stuff that they can give away. So let me just do that one more time. So if you want to send something to us, by all means do so, and we can use that for a prize or a competition at some point in the future. And again, we've got our first giveaway that we'll do in the next week or so, which is that HDML cloner box.
There you go. Well, let's do that. I'm going to find some giveaways too. I've got a whole lot of stuff here. I'm sure some people are interested in either modded stuff or things for whatever they're operating. So let's think about that. We can do that.
Yeah. Now, I pressed the wrong button, and it was meant to be that big full screen one that blows apart, but doesn't matter. It's okay. It can stay on the bottom. Oz, we're off to see the wizard. So we're going to show some more videos that are part of Australia. So let's move on, first of all, to Riverland. So this video was shot without audio, and it seems to be very, very jerky on the screen.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like that before. Oh, there we go. It's smooth again now. Don't know why that is, but all things being as they are. So, John, tell me about this video that you shot.
I was down in land in Renmark and on the Murray River, and I went out one morning, and I was down there doing some stuff with the band, and went out early, as I do, and I shot some stuff. I really love the way, particularly in the other scene, where morning sunlight on sandstone and those light-coloured rocks, you know, like you see there, makes a beautiful video. And it's so still, you know, it really is a photographer's dream, of course, in terms of your colour and lighting. But as a place, it's quite beautiful. I don't think they'd ever seen anything buzzing around. Certainly the birds hadn't. Yeah, so when you're flying at rivers, guys, be mindful of the wildlife. And you might think, you know, I can get down here. There's a lot of, when you get low level, there's a lot of birds that nest close to the river bank and sort of up in those cliffs and things. So, you know, you can get nice high shots and so forth, but be mindful that, you know, the first time a bird sees your quad a bit close, I mean, you know, they freak out. So you don't need to do that.
Yeah, we got a question from Ken, also known as Dave Oliver today, but anyway. The question was, what areas of Australia are off limits to drones? And let's quickly talk about a couple of them. So you were in an area that was, you know, some natural habitat, some coastline and all sorts of stuff. The first one we want to comment on is national parks.
Yeah. Well, the national parks are not available unless you're a commercial operator, and you go to national parks have their own operator certificate, their own chief pilot. So if you want to do some filming in national park, you can go and get that, doing some research work. So there's always a way for operators to do it. But for recreational users, no national park, no ski field. That's off limits as well. Perisher, Thredbo, they're all national parks, of course, but they are specifically off limits because of the helicopter operation in and out of there all the time. The Great Barrier Reef, so a lot of that area in northern Queensland is off limits because there's so much mass traffic. I mean, there's helicopters there, low level, doing sightseeing, all of that stuff. But having said that, you know, Great Barrier Reef and some of these places, there's so much of Australia that you can fly in and be free to fly. Of course, in the metro cities, same as everywhere in the world, no airports and so forth. But even at Sydney here, we can fly our coastlines. We're good here, the headlands of the Northern Beach, down south, Stanwell Tops, you know, you've been down there, Greg. I mean, there's beautiful places to fly. And going back to Ken's question, you know, specifically manned aircraft, again, where you're going to commingle with manned aviation, are you going to have those restrictions? There are limits around mammals in terms of sea mammals like whales. So 300-metre exclusion around whales on the surface. Although, you know, the oceanographers have a dispensation to do that. They get a little closer for their research work. But, you know, it comes into the common sense basket, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of that stuff. I mean, you know, about buzzing animals or that sort of thing, a good safe distance. I think also around Uluru, our indigenous, you know, sacred areas, I think that those are no-fly zones as well. Even for joy flights, you know, we don't promote those at low level, buzzing around the Ayers Rock or Uluru.
Yeah, but look, in general, keep away from airports, keep away from wildlife, unless you've got permission for both of them. And to get permission, you need a license and or an operator certificate, depending on the circumstances of what it is that you're doing and what you need to be doing. Just before we move on to, we've got another video in a minute, but I just want to quickly say again, Ken, thanks for the pun. It's very nice. Talking about the ferry in the video. You know, Ken, from here on, I'll have to have some puns myself. Da-dum, and some sound effects. Anyway, moving right along. Let's have a look at the next video. So we've got another one, which is a video taken and put together showing some work.
What we're able to do is to fly the aircraft over the damaged area and take what we call an orthomorphic image of a large area.
There we go.
And the drone will take photos generally in sort of like a lawnmower pattern. It goes in the grid sort of up and down, back and forth. And each photo will have a bit of overlap. So from one point on the ground we've been captured by say 3 or 5 photos. And what we do is we use specialised geospatial software to join those photos together.
Now if you can hear that audio, but I'll fill it in for you.
We can hear the audio, but I've just turned it down so we can hear you.
Yeah, here we go. We're Cyclone Debbie. So this is what they call rapid impact assessment, where the cyclone clears and you get in there as fast as you can. A lot of the area is evacuated. We do a quick 3D stitch of the town, and then the insurance companies line up their damage areas or their insured properties with our data. And there we are. We go to 182, and I just took us up. We did Hamilton Island and Chute Harbour, Bowen, Scottsville, Collinsville, Proserpine. All of these areas were ravaged by the Cyclone Debbie. So we knew up to that point that there was a trial of cyclone mapping done in Vanuatu in 2015 after the cyclone there. They took out 3 quads and they basically did, you know, 2 or 3 streets a day, and we were able to basically just in 2 years of the evolution of the aeroplanes being so much better and better mapping facilities, we were able to do a town in a day and you know, 60, 70 streets worth of damage. And so we use fixed wings for that as well. Most of the fixed wings are better at doing that job. Quads are fast and to get into a spot where you want to really map something quickly. But there's a lot going on. We've just got asked about some of the flood relief that can go on in northern Queensland at the moment. It's very hard to do a 3D stitch on floods. Anyone that knows anything about that technology, but you can certainly help out with the rescue effort. So we're looking at getting a team ready to go up to Ingham and look at the flooding up there. So yeah, good work. And you're always mindful too that you're helping out. Often you can spot people in distress and get the call out. You know, you can see them, they miss them in the helicopters. They're just flying around too fast and you don't see everything. But boy, you don't miss anything when you're in a quad. You see everything.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly, again, obvious point. If you're going to be doing any work to do with any kind of emergency work after a cyclone or something like that, make sure you are A, licensed, and B, have the cooperation and the permission of your local law enforcement. But that particular work that you did there, John, was certainly a lot more complicated than just going and flying. Again, as you said, stitching it all together and building all of those high quality pictures to help with those efforts. So, you know, a lot of good work there.
A lot of stuff. I mean, the interesting, Greg, the flying side and the regulation side of it was one thing. We had enormous logistical problems, you know, even just to get power to charge our batteries. We couldn't take a generator in the aircraft, and so we had lots and lots of things to get over. The first aircraft we took out of Sydney, we had a ride in Rockhampton, and when we were going up further, it was in a twin-engine airplane. Luckily, the right engine failed, so we actually limped to Mackay and hired that Cessna. So, I mean, a job like that, you've got everything in place in terms of your UAV work, in terms of flying your quad, and that just comes out of the box and does what it always does every time. But the rest of it, you've really got to have your head around you to do that kind of work.
Okay, so at this point, unless anyone objects wildly, I'm going to suggest we skip the other bit we were going to do on hardware mods, and we'll potentially hold that over for next time. But just have a couple more minutes of chat in the background, and any questions you've got for us. Again, we're going to try and get some videos of some local Australian nice looking stuff and share that over time. We're going to share some of our tech stuff with regard to drones, hacking, modding, playing with them. For me, just to share with you a little bit about the rig that's going and doing all of this streaming today. So I've got Wirecast sitting on a computer. It's a piece of software. Number two, I've got a lighting rig over here behind me. I've got a green screen, which is being pulled out so that I can do the magic and appear in this studio. In case you're wondering, I don't have this real studio over here. And there is no television on the wall over there. It's all fake. John, if you put your head, though, close to the side, I can stick my finger in your ear. But anyway, so yeah, there we go. John is coming in via some technology called Rendezvous. Rendezvous is a Wirecast product that allows guests to come in, and certainly next time I do want to have another guest come in, so that we're going to have John will turn you off for a little while. Heaven forbid anyone could actually make you shut up normally, but we'll turn him down.
Oh, true.
And we'll get someone else to join for a little period of time. Don't know who that'll be yet, but we'll work that out.
Ken, I think you should have Ken on one day, because he has a great show. It's worthwhile mentioning Thursday Night Live. I love that show. It was so much fun. It's like our show, but these guys have been doing it for a while, and there's nothing on television for me. You know, like I can surf around. I like YouTube, but I must say that the Ken's Thursday Night Live drone show is just fantastic. So get Ken on one day. That'd be terrific.
So Ken, John's invited you. I know you're still listening, so you've got the invite. Whether you're available this week or not, that's something we'll chat about offline, but I'd love to have you. Also looking at, as I said before, getting someone known as Hostile, also known as Kevin Finisterre, someone who's behind a lot of the DJI hacking scene. I've been chatting to him, but he's very shy about doing live appearances. So it may be a pre-recorded one. We'll see how we go with that. We had a question or two. Have we used Drone Deploy? Have you used that, John?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we've looked at all of those platforms. Drone Deploy, Precision Mapper's another good one. Site Scan, they're all various levels of enterprise in terms of what you stitch. So Drone Deploy's got some free trials on at the moment. It's very, very good. a lot of these companies have started off with an engine, a stitching engine, if you like, mapping engine, developed under a current provider. That would be Pix 4D, or I think it's AEDST is another one. But look, the thing is that they're more and more providing their niche market. So Drone Deploy, I can recommend those if you want to try and get a free trial. Go and do a stitch, go and fly with their software, and you'll have some great fun. A friend of mine, Martin, who's a Tiger Airlines pilot, the other day went out and did his one of his early stitches and used Drone Deploy, and he actually sent the stitch to me. So I've had another recent look at it, and it was a great stitch. So he was able to take an area, fly quite a large area of a property, a farm, and then drop it onto Google Earth, and it looks magnificent in terms of the way that the stitch has gone. Very, very good. I use Precision Mapper for my people I'm training, so I'll send them out. Once I've shown them the technology and how it works and they're doing a bit of survey, I set them up with a Precision Mapper account, and they can upload 300 gigabytes of photos and have them stitched. They can do NDIV, they can do all different types of DTM, which is height modelling, 3D modelling, all of that stuff's available for free. So the Drone Deploy, no problem. Yeah, as I say, they're all pretty much do the same job, but I know Drone Deploy is very, very good, and as I say, I use Precision Mapper. If you're going to go do that for work, though, you download your own stuff, Pix 4D, and spend an exorbitant amount of money on software and
it is. It's expensive stuff. And just one more quick thing. I noticed Dave Oliver has agreed to, our Ken Heron impersonator has said he would love to come as a guest. So thanks, Dave Oliver.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. So we're getting to close to the top of the hour. So thanks, everyone, for coming and joining. Again, please come to the channel next week. So we do this show at the same time every week, 11 a.m. Sydney time. In UTC, it's midnight. Sorry for those in the UK. Can't do anything about that for you. For those in Central, I believe it is 6 p.m. There's a link in the description which takes you to a world time clock converter thing. Give that a go and work out what time it is for you. Until then, John, I'll see you next time.
See you next time. I'll be looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.